for health. Welcome to your nutrition for fat loss and health. And today we're talking about how we are going to help increase our likelihood of getting results so we can achieve the goals that we want to achieve, and getting a basic understanding of what nutrition is so we can achieve fat loss and better health. So when we look at what fat loss is, nutrition is, sorry, we're looking at within our health and how nutrition plays a part to that. So we're going to be looking at understanding the nutrition basics, how we're going to a step-by-step guide to tracking our food, understanding food labels that we see day in, day out, and then recapping and giving you actions to take away from today. And then the whole purpose of today is for you to learn, engage, and leave with some actionable steps to take away, which will hopefully leave you feeling more confident in getting the results that you get. So think about one goal or one challenge that you have with nutrition. Think about, is your goal? Is it going to be fat loss? Is it going to be building muscle? Are you just trying to eat healthier? Are you trying to improve your health? Or is it just general fat loss? What is it that you need to do? Also think about one challenge as well. Is there a challenge that you've got? What is that challenge going to affect when it comes to you making decisions with nutrition? And how are you going to be overcoming that? So when we look, we've got three main macronutrients that we have. So we've got proteins. So these are really good for muscle repair, especially when you're strength training. The goal is that you are breaking down muscle. And when you're breaking down muscle, we want to build and repair them. So especially when you are in a calorie deficit or going for fat loss. It also plays a really critical role in keeping you full, which overall reduces calorie intake. And for those with autoimmune conditions, it can help support that immune function, which is where it's optimized. So a higher protein intake can help preserve lean muscle mass and help you gain it as well. So it's really vital for weight loss, and especially key for when you're trying to maintain a healthy metabolism. And the question is, why do I always try and give 40% of your macros in protein? And that is mainly to support those with autoimmune conditions. We have a high amount of patients or people that are actually on steroids, on long-term antibiotics, and those higher protein diets there is some evidence out there to say that we can manage inflammation and repair that damaged tissue. And these are often common challenges that we do find in autoimmune diseases. And it also supports our immune system. So obviously when winter comes and when we're written one down, especially when we're stressed, the protein will also play a big part in your immune function, which will help regulate your autoimmune responses. So I do have often come up and say, oh, I've got kidney, I've only got one kidney, or I've got kidney disease. How is that going to be helpful to me? I surely need to reduce my amount of protein. There's actually research out there that says it's not, unless you are eating an insane amount of protein, which is not achievable by any means, then you should be fine. There are standards that you follow, and there are reasons to why qualified people give you your macros. But obviously, if you are concerned, get a dietitian in, and there does need to be some careful considerations for those that are late stage in chronic kidney disease. But typically those that are having an advanced kidney disease, their protein might need to be limited just to avoid that excessive workload. But for those who are in the early stages or have other related conditions that cause some kidney issues, then there's no real issue. It's mainly there to help you to maintain muscle mass and overall health. Just regular checkups and regular screening is really important. But the 40% recommendation of protein that I like to try is, depending on what your needs are, to provide you with sufficient support to help you increase your muscle mass, support your muscle mass, and repair without overburdening the kidneys. And that then helps balance the need to repair for tissues and maintenance. So it is just there important to go with careful monitoring. Then you've got your carbohydrates, which are there for your energy, and more importantly, your fiber. So they're your main primary energy source. I know that we often go for, we have keto diets or we go for low carb diets, but your body stores it. And if you then use it, this is what the energy is used for your organs to function, for your brain to function. And that's when you start to get a bit, I'm feeling a bit woozy. So by making sure that you have the right type of carbs, focusing on high fiber carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates with that slow release energy, you can improve your digestion, increase your fullness, and stabilize your blood sugar levels. So this low carb diet for people who are diabetic, you've just got to change the type of carbs that you are eating. It's also really crucial for managing cravings as well. And it can then support fat loss. So that is really vital, in making sure that we limit added sugars and reduce empty calories that contribute to fat gain and inflammation. So that's really important for those who are thinking about reducing their carbohydrate. It's also really good for the inflammation side of things if you're eating enough fiber, because it also then helps manage autoimmune conditions. And then you have fats. So you obviously have your healthy versus your unhealthy. And it's really important to know which ones are which. So healthy fats are those from avocados, nuts, seeds, and olive oil, and they support hormone production, brain health, and reduce inflammation. These again can also be beneficial for autoimmune conditions. And then we want to try and limit the saturated fat and the trans fats. And these are the ones that can cause cardiovascular disease. And by limiting them, we can help improve our risk of cardiovascular health disease and also reduce systemic inflammation, which is really important for fat loss and overall health management. So, I mean, overall, our diet high in protein supports muscle repair, immune function, and feeling full, which is beneficial for fat loss, weight loss, building muscle to prevent frailty as we get older, and also managing specific health conditions like autoimmune disease. Carbohydrates focused on fiber, complex hard carbohydrates, slow release, low in sugars. They can stabilize your blood sugars, stop you from snacking, and keep your energy levels steady throughout the day. And then you've got your healthy fats. So your essential fatty acids that are there to support your overall well-being and reduce your inflammation. And these are really vital, but need to be done in moderation, because too much of them can then have adverse effects. So then we can have a look at a calorie balance. So you're either going to be in a calorie surplus or a calorie deficit. And that depending on what macros you have been given by your trainer or what you are looking at. We want to look at, if you want to have fat loss, then you need to be in a calorie deficit. And depending on how fast you want to lose it, I would suggest no more than 300 to 500 calorie deficit from your TDEE, which is what you are burning at rest with your normal activity. And you can search that out, and we'll do that in a different podcast, in a different thing, that you can look and work out your macros in multiple different ways. Then you have your healthy eating habits. So we want to make sure that we are focusing on whole foods and balanced meals. We want protein first on your plate, then we want vegetables, and then we want complex carbohydrates. So we are looking at things that are fresh, essentially, not really, or fresh or frozen. We don't really want stuff from tins. We don't want stuff that's been stored in cans that can go in the cupboard. We want stuff that's fresh, and that's all. So the role of calories. So like I said, calorie surplus, which is consuming more calories than you burn, that will lead to weight gain. Now, some people will do that if they want to increase weight, and then you'll find that they want to go on a cut. But basically, you are going to gain weight if you are eating more than what you are burning. If you're in a calorie deficit, then you are going to burn more calories than you consume, which is key for fat loss. However, if you are going to reduce your calories to a point where your body cannot function and it is past your basal metabolic rate, which is what you burn at rest without any activity, you are going to store it. Your body won't cope, and it's just going to say, well, no. So you need to make sure you're eating enough and you have been given the right guidance, which you all have been, to ensure that you are eating enough to burn enough fats. Because if you are in too much of a calorie deficit, then you are burning muscle rather than fat. So if we look at a step-by-step guide to tracking food, we do it because we want to be there. We want to be aware of what we're putting in our bodies. We want to be aware of what our portion control is, and it will help us stay on track once we've got used to it. Tips for successful tracking: be honest. There are so many times that I have come across people that have said, oh, I'm just worried that you're going to judge what I'm putting on. I cannot see what you're doing. Make sure that you log it accurately. So when you're putting in your weights, your cups, your grams, you can normally change it around. Pre-log your meals. I found this really helpful. So pick 2 to 3 meals on the Sunday that you're going to eat during the week. We all eat the same meals 9 times out of 10. Pre-log them, save them as your favorites, and then it's done. You just need to keep uploading them every time you put them in. I know spaghetti bolognese is a firm favorite in our house, and we have it at least once a week. If I've not got stores in the fridge, in the freezer, then I can just batch cook it and make it from there. But I know what goes in it and it's regular. Plan ahead. I would advise that you plan ahead on a Sunday and pop your snacks in the night before. Regularly review it to see if you are making any changes. You can adapt. Review it at the end of the week to check whether your progress is happening and what you need to do and change. And don't stress. Honestly, it's not perfection. We just want you to track your food. We don't want you to think about how the nitty-gritty needs to get down. So just make sure that you are doing it and we can improve from there. Small steps will always lead to a big change. So how are we going to track it? So everybody's different. I'm a dinosaur. I like paper. So choose a tracking method. I use paper to plan it, and then I use an app to pop it in and track it and save it. Or you can use just paper, or you can use just an app. It's whatever suits you and your needs. Make sure you log everything and make sure you measure your portions. If you're going to measure them after you've cooked it, make sure that you stick to it that way. And get yourself a pair of digital scales, some cheap cups, which I think you can get from any supermarket these days. And then as you go along and you start to realize you can make visual estimates. I'm now at a stage where I can normally make visual estimates apart from when I track my carbs. And then just review and adjust as you go along. Like I said, nothing is perfect. You can adapt it, change it, refine it. It doesn't need to be perfect, but that's what reviewing and adjusting is about. So when we do the key elements I want everybody to look out for is, what is the serving size? That's probably the easiest one to start with. What is the serving size on the food label? And then compare it with the actual consumption that you're having. So a recent one that we've come across is someone has had a chocolate drink, and that chocolate drink has said that the serving size is 100 mils. They were under the illusion that it was 200 mils. So that way it's been doubled the whole time. So just make sure that you're comparing your actual serving with the right serving size. Then look at your calories per serving, and then on the total package. Look at the macro And then look at the nutrient highlights. So we're looking at the sugars, the sodium, and the ingredient list. If there is loads of stuff in there you can't pronounce, get rid of it. I'm not saying you don't ever eat it, but what I'm saying is it's not got everything in that you think it is, that is completely whole. So when we look at an example food label, so if we look at typical, this is probably what they're saying is a serving size. So typical values per 100 grams, right? So I think I've picked here like a Lloyd's Grossman, like tomato sauce. So look at the calories here. So you think when we look at that per 100 grams, that's great. That's absolutely fine. That's 61 calories, right? But then if we go down and then we look, so the fat is 3.4. The carbs are 5.8. But what's in the carbs? So we're looking at the carbs of which of them is sugars. So that's a huge amount in there. But there's not a huge amount of fiber or protein. So overall, what I'm looking at, there's no protein, there's more sugar, and the majority of that sugar, of those carbohydrates, is sugars. So there's that 61 calories means absolutely nothing. Okay. Then if we go and have a look at what's in it, so you've got tomatoes, only 60%. Now you could make your own tomatoes. Tomato puree, garlic, basil, fine, oil, sugar, more oil, salt, lemon. So you could literally, we make our own at home, and it's just literally 2 tins chopped tomato and a bag of frozen veg blended. And then the other thing that I want to for you to understand is what on the front, I don't think this has anything to do with, it's not always going to be right. So bear in mind that green label, that's 6.8 grams of sugar. That's 8% of your day, and they put it down as a green. So I don't like this with the traffic light system. I'd rather looked on the back and looked what you're eating down to a T. Because this is where some things happen when people have got allergies, and you'll find that it's been made in, if it's dairy, it's been made in a dairy factory, and that's when you need to start to pick things up. So the question to take back today is what stands out to you from these. Go get something out of your cupboard and have a look and see what you've got. So recapping and looking at the takeaways from today, macronutrients, you've got your protein, your carbs, and your fats, and your fibers as well. So make sure that you are looking and prioritizing the right types of food. And we want to look at unsaturated fats, complex carbohydrates, high fiber, and lean proteins. When we're looking at a calorie balance, are you in a surplus or are you in a deficit? Because 9 times out of 10, people say to me, I don't eat that much. But when you start to track it, you realize that what you eat, and actually it's a lot more than what you think. Make sure, and why do we do it? We do it because we're making informed choices. We want to be aware of those hidden ingredients. We want to be aware of our portion control, and we want to show some accountability to what we're doing, cooking, and having a better nutrient balance in our daily lives. So when you are food tracking, make sure that you choose the right method for you. Don't, because that might cooking it. If you're finding it difficult, maybe just track 1 meal a day and then start to move up from there. Make sure you measure and you regularly review it. And then make sure you are reading food labels properly, understanding those servings, understanding those calories, and understanding those nutrients. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope if there's any questions, any clarifications, please get through to me on our community chat. For those that are listening on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed it. Any questions, please pop them underneath, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. So actions and wraps up. So please make sure you have a go and start tracking your food this week. Those that are in our community, please share your logs. So we can have a look and we can go through them and understand your food labels. And hopefully I will see you next week.